Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, thunder. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, thunder. Who's feeling thunderstruck tonight? When you're there, spread the love, share the video. Inspiration tonight. It's Thursday, so I have to give you something to take away with this Thursday. Let me know who's here, where you're here logged in from. Show me some love. It's all about the love, peeps. Who are my peeps tonight? So tonight I had to run out because I had run out of water. And the thunder clouds were rolling in. I was hearing it. Still didn't get quite the rain that I was hoping for, because that's the irony, is it can look ominous and like it's going to downpour on us, but it doesn't end up doing anything. Yay, New Hampshire! Hey, Rachel. And it's kind of cool because the skies here every day, there's something beautiful to behold. And I'm always like, oh, what's going on today? And I had to run down. I got my bottle of water filled up. And then I went by Nature's Food Patch, because I'm in Clearwater, Florida. And then I have this little thing that I like to do when I go in the grocery stores. Hi, Diana. And maybe the ladies can appreciate this. One of the first things I do, other than scope out what's in the raw food and see if there's any new items, I will shoot right back to wherever the organic skincare and healthy like sprays and stuff are. And I'll stand there and check and see if there's anything new. But then I have a couple things that I'm like, ooh, I want some of that aloe cucumber spray. Or that one has a little coconut and reishi mushroom and turmeric and neem oil. I'm just like spraying away. So tonight I went into the Nature's Food Patch. I do this at Whole Foods, any place that has these little areas with little testers. And if they have little samples, they're always nice. And I have to read the ingredients because that's the most important thing, because you don't know what you're putting on your skin, which you should be able to eat. There are some essential oils I wouldn't recommend eating though, because they don't taste quite as good. And they're more effective through the blood, through the skin and directly into the bloodstream than they would be if you ingested them, which could be a little bit more sensitive to the stomach lining. So, good evening everyone. Sharing is caring. You know, if you find my videos helpful, put it out there to your friends. You never know. You may actually inspire them by sharing what you're getting inspired from me from. Yeah, Diana, definitely. Where are you at? So yeah, I go back there because this is kind of a spontaneous video anyway. Oh, Plant City. Oh, honey, you are in the heart of where the food is being grown, especially like the strawberries, right? Blueberry season right now. No, wait. Yeah, we're at the end of blueberry season still. I probably could stock up on some more. I've got some in the freezer as it is. And so what I like to do is I go back there and I'm trying out all the sprays, put on the serums and the creams, and my face is saturated by the time I get to the cash register, and the woman's usually like, your skin looks so good. I said, well, have you been back to the healthy skincare line section? And oh, you know, it's kind of comical. So I encountered this young woman, and I could tell she was either coming or going to the gym, maybe even yoga, because she had the whole yoga pants on. Beautiful red hair up, really pretty. And I look over her, and she's kind of, you could tell she was a little shy. And, married in Tarpon. Tarpon's beautiful, I know. It's very close to me. It's about 20 minutes up the road. And thank you, John. So I look at her, not to check her out, but just kind of feel her out, because I could tell she kind of seemed to be looking for something, but she was a little standoffish, kind of, because it's in an L shape, it's in a corner, And she kind of turned, maybe didn't want me to see her face, but the moment I did see her face, what I did see was a lot of acne and a lot of skin issues. She had beautiful skin though. She was definitely younger, and she just had a little bit of acne. And it was clear to me it was a dietary issue, because most of what comes through our skin is a reflection of what goes into our mouth, into our body. And especially with dairy, because dairy will create the pus that comes out of your face. Because when you're consuming dairy, sorry to say, there's blood, there's pus, there's who knows what kind of bodily fluids in it. It's gross, actually, when you think about it. And it's one of the hardest things for women to give up, whereas for men it's harder to give up meat. And the other things that will cause skin eruptions, especially in certain areas, which are signs of the adrenals being overtaxed, or the lymphatic system, right? You know, our body's trying to flush and clean out the system of these toxins, would be soy and gluten. Believe it or not, whether you're allergic or not, I had really bad acne growing up as a kid. Does anybody remember OxyClean and those little scouring pads, salicylic acid, all these different things we try, drying out our skin. And my skin is naturally oil, which actually is a good thing. If you have oily skin, it's a blessing, because it's what keeps your skin youthful. It is what's going to keep you from aging the most. And especially when you get these really good fats in your system like avocados. And that will help, because they're so packed with nutrients. It'll keep your good cholesterol high and your bad cholesterol low. So I look over her, and I'm kind of relating, because, see, for me, acne on my skin, I literally used to have body acne so bad on my chest, my arms, my back. And I used to think it was maybe my hair, because I always had long hair and it would be on my back. But in reality, it was what I was eating, and I didn't know it, that a lot of it was the gluten. And soy wasn't as prevalent that I was aware of as a child. But I can tell you, if I have any amount of soya, it will end up somewhere on my face. And I don't like it. It's nasty. It's not good for me. It doesn't agree with me. If you do it, that's your choice. But processed food is processed food. And unless it's fermented, that's the only way I would take in soy. So I look over at this woman, and she made a comment. She smelled me spraying one of the sprays. And it had a very distinct cucumber smell to it. And she said, "Ooh, what was that you just sprayed?" And I said, "Oh, the one that smells like cucumber. I'm pretty sure there's cucumber in it." And I pulled it over and I showed her. And then I was saying how, yeah, just like when we were younger, our parents, our mothers especially, would teach us to put the cucumbers on our eyes, right? Because the cucumbers are full of silica, and that's great for building the skin. Especially the peel, actually, which is usually the part they coat with waxes, and I can't stand that, because that's the best part. And she mentioned that she had just started doing some different things, and I could tell she was very self-conscious, because she was not necessarily making full eye contact with me at first, and she was shy. She wore glasses, so that kind of covered it a little bit. But I made a point to just say, you know, when I was younger, I had really bad acne, and I really connected with her so that she understood that it wasn't, you know, I said, I know how embarrassing it is. You don't want to go out of the house. And it's even worse around that time of your month when your hormones are really active. I said, but it's typically going to be what you put in your body, because it's a reflection. And I told her about the dairy and the soy and the gluten. And she said she had just recently done a couple things different. And that then I said, well, the other thing is also caffeine. Sometimes when you're taking in coffee, it's going to kick on those adrenals, and you're taxing your kidneys. And you've got to flush stuff out of your body. And as much as I loved coffee, like I said, I lived in Italy, and I still drink it from time to time, but I make it a ritual. I was just pointing out to her that it's really about, you know, listening to the body. And she was really sweet, and I said, you've got beautiful skin. It's just, you just need to, you know, tune into what it is that's causing it to erupt like that. And she did admit to putting creamer in her coffee, which I didn't get a chance to tell her, but for those of you who may be a cream and coffee type person, be aware that when you take the cream of milk and put it in with coffee, what you're doing is canceling out the antioxidants in the coffee. So we think, oh, I'm getting this healthy coffee. Well, you're actually getting two acidic things that are binding together, and you're not going to absorb anything that's beneficial from either or, because they're two different digestions in the body anyway. And somehow it blocks your ability to absorb any antioxidants. Imagine that, right? It's a sugar, technically. Come on, that's why it's addictive. And Rachel, I was going to address that. So fever blisters can be a lot of different things. Are you talking in your mouth? Are you talking about fever blisters in your mouth? Because I came to the conclusion that I'm allergic to certain foods, and when I take in, and you could be very high in acidic, so you could be taking in too many nuts, things that are higher on the acidic scale versus, do you do soy? These are the things you have to navigate in your own body and your diet, right? Yes. Do you eat anything like, let's say, pineapple or kiwis? I'm allergic to pineapples and kiwis. I can't handle the kiwis, make that in the back of my throat, but they're also from the same family. And for pineapples, I ate pineapples for years because I love pineapples. But unfortunately, 2 weeks, I finally came to the conclusion. I was living in Italy and I'd had pineapple, and I was so embarrassed. I had a cold sore right here on the crease of my lips. For 2 weeks, it looked like herpes, and I was so mortified. And I was like, no, it's really a pineapple allergy I'm dealing with. Or the inside of my mouth would get it really bad. Yeah, I love pineapple, I really do. And they say the bromeline's really good for you and everything else. But unfortunately, if you're allergic to it, you have to avoid it, no matter how much you like it. Very rarely, if it's in something like just like an added ingredient, I might be able to do a little bit. Oh, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. I love you all so much too, because you're showing up, and I'm not just talking to myself. I feel like I'm actually getting people who want to hear what I say, as opposed to me going to somebody and trying to share wisdom or inspiration and information. So thank you again. I really do appreciate all of you. So it's navigating what is going on in your body. Your body's telling you at all times what it is that resonates and what it is that doesn't resonate. And our bodies are always going to be a reflection of our mind. So whatever's going on in here is going to go on down here, right? And then when we start pinpointing where those areas are, it starts to, and you start looking it up. You start researching. You start researching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You start researching the areas of the body and the emotions associated with them. And whether it's chakra-based, organ-based, it's amazing how we hold on to emotions. I've heard it so many different times from so many different people. Your issues are in your tissues. Andrea Cox says that all the time. Love her. She's a good friend of mine. She's a beautiful soul as well. And truly, everything gets stuck in our body. The fascia, for example, you know, when you stretch your side body, when you stretch in the morning, when you don't just have muscles, but the fascia is fascinating. So if you've ever, and this is the gross part, I never really liked chicken for this whole purpose, you know, when you see the sinewy between the skin and the muscle in chicken, and you take it apart, that's the fascia. And it's the same for our bodies. So, hi Deborah! When you turn around and you wake up in the morning, every morning you have to stretch. You have to twist and turn, because the fascia gets sticky. And it needs to strengthen, elongate, and stretch in every which way possible. And the coolest thing about fascia is it's not like muscle, where it continues to stay in one kind of form and just contracts and expands and, you know, it does its thing. No, fascia will actually be like it's almost Gumby kind of like, you know, it can rip apart in an area and then reattach in another area. And I'm just saying this in layman's term because there's so many different things that you hear about. There's so much that you hear about, and people talk in such a way that you're like, what are you talking about? And it doesn't require a big word. It's simple, it's intuitive. You listen to what's going on in your body, and then you follow its guidance instead of ignoring it, because that's typically where it all gets lodged. So again, going back to this young lady that I encountered at Nature's Food Patch, and she was a little bit more open to speaking and turning and looking at me more. And as I was telling her, I said, you know, it's just a navigation of your body. You're going to find a way to heal this. I said and then she said she had the oil skin, and I said that's actually a good thing. And I told her about how it keeps us youthful. But what I use is just simple baking soda and a little water and just a little bit, you know, it's not like scrub, 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 but it's enough to neutralize the oils in your skin and clear out any dirt and any type of, you know, debris or what have you. And then I take apple cider vinegar and water in a spray bottle, dilute it, and I spray that on. Instead of using a cotton swab, although you can use that. I mean, if you use a lot of makeup, you might want to go with the cotton swab to get the excess dirt. But what I do is spray it and just pat it and let it get into my skin. And then on top of that, once that's dried, I go and get my hydrosols and I spray them and do the same thing. And by the way, my girlfriend Deborah Lynn is up in New York City, and she is an esthetician and hairstylist as well. So if you're in her area, you could go check her stuff out too. I believe she's got chocolate masks too. I do use apple cider vinegar after I do the baking soda, because if you mix the two together, you're going to get that volcano eruption. I do the same thing. I keep my baking soda in a plastic container, and I take it and I dip just a little bit in my hand and use it all over my body, especially my armpits. I don't use a lot of soaps, but I have to buy them. I don't know if it's psychological. I haven't found quite the right products, especially with shampoo and conditioner. That's the toughest one out there, is finding the perfect shampoo and conditioner, because I don't know about anybody else. And making your own can be its own challenge, because I've done it and ended up with a whole mess in my head. I like Coors, but then there's still some ingredients in their stuff. And I actually have been to Greece. That's how I was introduced to the Coors line. I absolutely loved their gluten-free, especially, because a lot of their stuff is awesome. The sunscreen, the spray, and yes, in this case it's yogurt, but at the time I wasn't 100% like, this is where I kind of, you know, I still have it. Haven't bought it in a while, but still, it's where you do what's right and what you can at the moment, okay? But my actual favorite on top of the Coors line when I was over there, and that's what I bought when I was in Greece. That's why I used it over there, because I needed something, because the sun is super powerful, especially when you're on the islands. But something that I found that's locally in Florida and Sarasota based is what's the name of that brand? One second. Sunray. So Sunray, this Vanilla Sensation Nourishing Body Moisturizer, this stuff is really, and it smells so good. Oh my God, there's no smell-o-vision on this, unfortunately. It has macadamia nut oil, all organic ingredients, grapeseed oil, purified water, organic aloe vera gel, coconut oil, beeswax, zinc oxide, organic vanilla extract, lavender essential oil, or orange essential oil, and geranium essential oil. This stuff smells amazing. I mean, like enough you might want to eat it. It smells that good. So looking at, I mean, there's so many options today. You don't even have to go and buy all this old stuff we used to use. You know, the copper tone. People getting skin cancer because of this stuff. So shampoo with apple cider and vinegar. Marcus Rothkratz teaches about natural soaps. Oh yes, I think I know Marcus. I think he's one of my friends. Yeah. Him and his wife, I believe. So, yeah. There's so much out there. And I think she felt a little bit better after I spoke to her, because I expressed to her, I said, don't even try to dry your skin. She was looking at the witch hazel, for example. Very gentle on the skin. You don't need something to dry it. I grew up doing the heat, the heated towel to my face all the time. Yes, exactly. And I totally was trying to dry out all this oily skin. And then like this, I was showing you this the other day, I have, I mean, it doesn't look that bad on the screen right now, but I know when I look in the mirror, and especially when I'm not eating well and hydrating enough, this really stands out. This is from, all the years of being out in the sun, and they told us baby oil. Could you get any grosser than to put that stuff on your skin? I'm lucky I don't have skin cancer, honestly, because I was a teenager in high school. I did what was the highlight spray stuff on your hair. I only did it a few times. I didn't really use it that much. And then the forehead, my face, oh my gosh, I had no idea what I was doing to my skin. I really didn't. And I tanned well. I was blessed enough to not be the type of skin type that would get really, really burned. Sunning, yeah. But, wow, how we buy into advertising and marketing and the idea that we need to look a certain way, when in reality we just need to follow the old ways of taking care of our bodies and ourselves. So, yeah, and then I came home and just started unloading and unpacking stuff that I bought, which I didn't buy very much. It was water and a couple little things that I like to buy at the store. Have you ever had those Hail Mary chocolate tarts? I know Tom showed some of his Hail Mary stuff, like the bites and all. My favorite, yum, 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 is the mint chocolate, because for me, mint and chocolate together is like the bomb. And I can make it myself perfectly, even better, actually. I like the way mine tastes better. But sometimes when you're on the crunch and you just don't have time, it's like, well, this is available. That's why we get caught up in buying stuff we don't need. We're perfectly capable of making things on our own, and it'll be so much more nourishing and loving and yummy when we make it ourselves. But we tend to go out and buy something because it's already done for us, so it makes us a little lazy in that sense. But at least it's in the fridge if I am craving it and just don't feel like making it. That's how that turns out, right? It just means I need to make up a bunch of my own. So something I wanted to address, going beyond that subject of skin and my little guilty pleasure when I go into the grocery store, is to go and try out all the skincare and the sprays and everything. That's just my fun little thing to do. Somebody, and I don't know if she's on here right now, had posted about men friending her and sending her private messages. And this is something that's a sensitive subject for those of us women who are kind and nice and sweet. And men think we're vulnerable, stupid, and dumb. And that just because we're the kind, sweet, loving, spiritual types, that our lingo is easy to manipulate by just turning around and saying, oh, I like the way you present. There's certain things that there are men out there, I'm sorry, they push the envelope. They push the limits. And a couple years ago, I was going through this cleanse, this flushing out of the old energies, to where I had men showing up in my life who were literally trying to speak my lingo to appeal to who they thought I was. And I'm like going, what the hell are they talking about? I had hired a guy who I met on Facebook who reached out to me every once in a while, seemed harmless. And then he offered to come over and help me with some work at my house. But I was paying him. I want to point this out because that part's key. It wasn't like he was showing up to help out of the kindness of his heart. He claimed he was giving me a good deal. Yeah, right. I had to deal with his attitude too. And then I was done with him. I'm like, you're out of here. he was saying things like, oh, you know, like he was demolishing my bathroom window so I could put in the glass tile blocks that I have in now. And he had the trash bin next to it, and the way that he was putting the trash, it in the trash, it was, to me, kind of dangerous. So I was trying to readjust it, and he kept on saying, oh, that's not good feng shui, you know. And I was wearing my turban. Now, ladies, I've mentioned this before. When I was wearing my turban, it aggravated him. And this is one thing I find interesting as a woman, and I just felt safer wearing it. And that weekend, I actually had a girlfriend coming in and out doing some work with me. Here I am wearing my turban, and a couple times I could see he got snippy with me because he wanted to see me with my hair down. And you know, it's a feminine sex appeal thing with hair too. I want you to understand that. And this is our antenna. This is our energy. So we pick things up, other people's crap, and sometimes get entangled. Literally, when your hair is entangled, it's probably you're entangled in something, right? Think about that. And here I am with my hair up in a turban, and I don't remember what the discourse was about, but there was a point where he turned around and he said, well, I don't know what's going on up in there in that turban of yours. And I'm like, and I just kind of, And I was like, I don't know what you're trying to refer to in that. Well, this individual, on a weekend that he was working at my house, left and came back on the Saturday. He took a break for whatever he needed to do. Didn't really bother me. I needed a break from him being around because I was just feeling like, something's not right with this person. When they came back, here's what I learned. This was a Saturday night, and what I learned is there was a smell of alcohol on him too. And because he kept on trying to fish for like food places he might be able to take me out to dinner, which felt weird because I'm thinking I'm paying this guy and he's talking about taking me out to dinner, which means ultimately I'm paying for all this. You get where I'm going with this? This is an energy exchange, right? You pay for the lessons sometimes, and it's not necessarily the kind of lessons you want. And then I didn't have cash on me, but he insisted on me paying him. And I was like, okay, well, he was supposed to come the next morning. He literally followed me down to the nearest ATM so that I would go and get the money and hand it to him. Now, he claimed to have money. I don't know what his deal was, his vice, let's say, but it wasn't nice. The next morning, and I spoke with my girlfriend about it, I said, you know, I feel like I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to approach it. How to be stern and just get rid of this guy. I didn't have to have him show up the next morning, and honestly, I was at a point where with the whole transpiring of the money, the smell of alcohol, and the insults, me wearing my turban, I really didn't even want to see him the next day. I didn't even want him in my house again. So he shows up the next day, and maybe he worked for a couple hours. I can't even remember what it was. But at some point, I think he had to leave for something. And I proceeded to just somehow find a way to just say, you know what, it's okay, you don't need to come back. He might have come back just to put the plastic across the huge opening that was in my bathroom. So now, here's the funny part. He leaves me in a situation where he's been a jerk to me, and now I've got a hole in the house. And it was a really big lesson, okay? Because I had to cut my ties. He was just a sucker, like a blood sucker. And he was trying to attach himself to me. And I could tell his motivation and his intentions were not pure or kind because of the way that he wasn't getting, obviously, what he wanted to receive from me. Whatever it was, really don't care, don't need to know. But then I was in this situation where I had to find a solution. I had to find someone else. And you know when you get stuck like that, ladies, you have a hole in your house. And you're like, what am I going to do? It was either July or August. I don't even remember anymore. But it had to be September, close to September, because I ended up having a guy come in to do plumbing work. And that was the person who ended up finding me the guy who came in to do the glass blocks, which was another energy in itself because this person charged me a certain amount of money and never fully finished all the work because the mistake I made was paying him in full before he was finished. the detail work, the framing around it on the outside, and the finishing up of the cleaning and the closing down of the cleaning in between the mortar of these glass blocks. So I'm like, okay. And then there were a couple other occurrences where I had the back building gutted, and one guy literally cursed me with some words I will not repeat, because you should never ever use certain words around us ladies. I don't care what your problem is. He had a smoking thing, like every time I was around, he would be outside smoking. And he claimed he needed 2 days to do the work, and it was a small building, and he was doing it basically like, might as well have been chipping it away. You know, it was something that was easier to be done. And because a friend of mine actually referred him, I had to call my friend over and say, listen, this guy's actually being threatening toward me. And he was the one who referred him, so he had to step in and tell him he needed to leave, because he showed up for his money, and I gave him his money, and then later he tries to claim that I shorted him too. There was a whole weirdness there. And then another person who was like, oh, I swear, I feel like we've known each other from another life. You know, the people will show up in your life to challenge and your boundaries and your self-worth. Kindness is key. Doesn't matter who you're dealing with. You can be gentle, loving in your approach and your demeanor and your speech, but that doesn't make you stupid. I've been around. I'm not stupid. I've been to the other extreme. It's not like I need to tolerate it, nor should I. And we need to be able to be strong in our personal power, strong in our navel. This is our PowerPoint, right? Power center. And we can still speak through the heart. And it floors them when you approach it in a different way. Big time red flags. When those red flags come up, ladies, you need to just say, stop. If they don't listen, block. That's all I'm saying. So if any of the gentlemen out there, and I'm calling you a gentleman because you haven't proven yourself otherwise, are reaching out to women with intentions that are impure, like to hook up or get with them, because I don't know how many times I get messages through Facebook, I just don't answer them. I'll be honest. If I don't answer your message back, it means it's not worth my time. And it also means that whatever you just messaged me was inappropriate and doesn't deserve my response, nor my time. I take one glance and I will ignore it. And it really doesn't take more than once, because I have no tolerance policy on that one. And we have to be, these are non-negotiables. This is my temple. I honor it, therefore, so will you. And if you don't, well, there's plenty of people out there, I'm sure you can victimize or try or what have you. But this is the time for women. Empower yourselves to be able to say no. I don't care how cute he is. You know, I don't care how bad you like the person. Don't compromise yourself. Nobody is worth this temple, this beautiful body that you are a creator, a nourisher. You are the life force. We create life. Who says you want to get with somebody that maybe you don't want to create life with? And it doesn't just have to be a baby, but a union of two people, two physical beings, is still a creation. It's still a unity. It is creating an energy and it's amplifying it. When you join two bodies and the intermingling and the interweavings of each other's energies, it can create expansive, in a positive, amazing way. This is the beautiful thing about union, and why when I do find the right person, it will be amazing. It is amazing. I'm already putting myself there wherever it is. But just as much, you're more powerful by yourself than to allow somebody into your space that is not going to respect it. So don't allow yourself to be the victim. Don't treat yourself like the victim. It's the labelhood. We're done with that. Cut that out. It's rude they message in the first place. Well, I'm going to say right now, I get a lot of male messages not messages, but friend requests. And something I've learned with this, I try to scan their page, and sometimes I can't tell because the security settings that they have set don't allow me to see who they really are. Maybe I can see one page. For all I know, it might be a brand new account. So sometimes I have to confirm it just to check the page to see if they're real and what's going on in their life. And if I scan your page and it seems safe, and then you disrespect me, good evening, Christine, it's not going to happen. It's not going to fly. I've got space in my field for beautiful people like yourselves. I'm not opening myself up for people who are just bloodsuckers and time wasters. Because you choose how life shows up to you, right? So you need to discern the people that are coming into your space, because they're always going to challenge you and your boundaries. They may create obstacles if you allow them, or you can just go, no, keep on moving. So, yes, and if you see they have mutual friends, doesn't necessarily mean they're that much better either. So I get a lot of friend requests from Indian-named people. And then I get a lot of private messages from people with Indian names, right? Kind of makes me wonder. But, see, I've been to India, and having read a lot and learned a lot, there was a movie that I watched when I was at the Venice Film Festival. They won an award. The Girl with the Yellow Boots. If you get an opportunity to watch this movie, it's phenomenal. The actress, she's amazing. I met the whole cast and everything when I was in Venice, and I was so happy for them because it deserved the award. It blows you away, the whole storyline. And a lot of people think India, they think yoga, they think, but you've probably heard over the course of the years, there is crime against women in these other countries that we think are all spiritual and beautiful. Every place has their stuff. Every place. But every place handles it differently too. And people handle it differently. So, yeah, just learn to discern what your healthy boundaries are and your non-negotiables and your no game overs. Because people are going to constantly nudge and push and test your boundaries and your limits. And that's for you to decide if they're going to be allowed in your space. So, thunder. Okay. That was my growing up. I loved AC/DC, apparently. It was influential, right? Some of the music I listen to, right? It's the pendulum swung in all those different directions as far as music. If anybody has any questions or anything else out there that I did not see that kind of scrolled up, I'm here. And if you want to see me do any other videos in the future, anything particular, any questions you have, something you'd like to have addressed that you think is important, setting boundaries is perfect, even though I sometimes have a hard time doing that. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Because I was you know why we don't set healthy boundaries? Fear of rejection. We don't reject because we're afraid of being rejected. And we also are afraid that if we say something sometimes, that person will ironically dislike us. Who cares? At that point, they're already crossing a limit. Why would we care if somebody who's being disrespectful liked us or not, right? Because if somebody who doesn't have boundaries themselves and aren't healthy in themselves, they're going to push other people because they don't understand it. It doesn't exist for them. They don't know how it exists for others. Therefore, they don't know how to apply it and respect it. And the more you do it, the more you speak up for what is right for you, the easier it is. It's easier to not care what somebody else thinks about you because it's none of your business anyway, right? But ultimately, the underlying reason we don't do it is because of fear of rejection, fear of not being liked in connection, and because we're not wanting to be rejected, why would we reject another? So values are important. And the higher your value of yourself and self-worth, the more the right people are going to show up and they're going to respect you and treat you like the beautiful goddess that you are. So everyone, again, sharing is caring. Share the videos, inspire, support, and uplift one another. I love you all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, Tom, for introducing most of us, bringing us all together. He is definitely an amazing soul, and there need to be more men out there that are so embracing in their own divine feminine, because believe it or not, we're both. Men and women encompass both. And it's beautiful to see a man who can embrace and demonstrate it in themselves. Because we have to lead by example for others to do the same and be inspired to do the same. So share my videos. Come to Italy with me 2nd through the 7th of July. And we'll see each other later. Buonanotte. See you all. Night, night.